I could have everybody's attention.
I heard that it was still up in the air.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Tennessee Higher Education Commission to order. We'll call on Ms. Carter to please call the roll.
Mr. Bone,
Present.
Mr. Cope,
Present.
Mr. Fisher, Secretary Hargett, Ms. Hayes,
Present.
Mr. Isaacs, Mr. Jarvis,
Present.
Mr. Johnson,
Present.
Mr. Kinsey,
Present.
Ms. Coben,
Present.
Treasurer Lillard,
Present.
Dr. Nixon, Mayor Wharton, Comptroller Wilson. We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Let me take this opportunity, first of all, to welcome all my fellow commissioners to the meeting and also to welcome staff and all our visitors here at the commission. As most of you probably know, our previous chairman, Mr. White, had to move out of his congressional district for a new employment opportunity, and so the commission is presently without a chairperson. So the first order of business this morning will be to elect a new chairman. At this point, I would call upon Mr. Lillard to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to do so. I'd like to move that the commission elect the following slate of officers: Mr. Cato Johnson as chair, Mr. Evan Cope and Mr. John Kinsey as vice chairs, and Mayor A.C. Wharton as secretary. These individuals are all actively engaged members of the commission who collectively supply excellent leadership, and they meet the geographic requirements of the officers as set forth in our bylaws. I so move.
Mr. Lillard, do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Carter, please call the roll.
Mr. Bone,
Sure. I'm not objecting.
We had him.
Yeah, but there's also, and I'm sorry I didn't communicate this well, but there's another appointment that if we do it as part of the same vote, and that is that Mr. Kinsey serve as a member of the audit committee.
Oh, great.
And that's being taken care
I'll
of.
offer a friendly amendment to my motion to include the appointment of Mr. Kinsey to the audit committee.
Second.
And I'll plead in my second.
Good shake then. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bone,
Aye.
Mr. Cope,
Aye.
Ms. Hayes,
Aye.
Mr. Jarvis,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Kinsey,
Aye.
Ms. Coben,
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard.
Aye.
The motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. At this point in time, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Cato Johnson as the new chairman. That's
Good job, Evan.
Yes, sir. Thanks. Pass the gavel.
Good job.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Congratulations. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
And let me thank all of you. The only vote I was worried about was Mayor Wharton, and he walked out. So I lost that vote early on. One, let me thank you for your confidence. I will try to reward that by making these meetings as short as possible, but making sure we get through with all the things we need to do. In the Tale of Two Cities, it started off by saying it's the best of times and it's the worst of times. In higher education, it is the most interesting of times and the best of times. And so with that, I want to also express my gratitude to Robert White. He's not here, but he was an excellent chairman. He did an excellent job. He worked extremely hard, and we all benefited from his leadership. Also, we have two new members. We have Pam Coben, who was appointed by Governor Haslam from the 5th Congressional District. Pam is no stranger to education. She's worked in both the UT system and the TBR system. Pam, welcome. We're glad to have you.
Welcome.
And we have Mr. Robert Fisher, who's a new student member and a member from the UT system. He could not be here. He's working on completing an internship in Washington. We want to do something different with the agenda because we do have a tight quorum today. But first, I would like for the members to adopt the agenda. It was previously passed out. And if there are no questions, could I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
The motion.
Second.
Ms. Carter, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bone,
Aye.
Mr. Cope,
Aye.
Ms. Hayes,
Aye.
Mr. Jarvis,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Kinsey,
Aye.
Ms. Coben, Aye. Treasurer Lillard.
Aye.
The motion passed.
Thank you. We will take the agenda somewhat out of order. We'll go directly to the action items so that we make sure that we have a quorum. So why don't we start? Our first action item is the approval of new academic degree programs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Betty Dandridge Johnson will be presenting those.
First, I'd like to say good afternoon and congratulations, Chairman Johnson, and good afternoon to Dr. Roeder and the other members of the commission. I have before you 3 agenda items. If you would refer to item 1B in your notebook. The first program is Mechatronics Engineering. It's a Baccalaureate of Science at Middle Tennessee State University, and this program was developed by MTSU faculty at the request of Bridgestone, Nissan, and Yates Services. These industries were interested in forming partnerships to address the issue of skilled and trained workforce in the area of mechatronics engineering. Mechatronics engineering is the integration of mechanics, electronics, systems theory, and computers used within manufacturing to improve efficiency, productivity, and quality. Some examples of mechatronic systems include automotive electronic fuel injection, anti-lock brake systems, automotive manufacturing systems, including robots, packaging systems, and plastic injection molding systems. These same industries requested Motlow State Community College to deliver the Simmons Levels 1 and 2 program certification and was interested in extending the career pathways of the Mechatronics Level 3 certification, which will be the development of this proposed bachelor's program in mechatronics engineering. Simmons is the largest Europe-based electronics and electrical engineering company, which is headquartered in Germany. TBR approved the Mechatronics Technology Associate's Degree Program at their June board meeting, and students will complete 127 hours in this program, which is the same as other engineering programs in Tennessee. This program will be administered by the Engineering Technology Department at MTSU. MTSU does plan to hire 1 additional faculty in year 1, and as the program grows, another faculty member will be hired in year 3. All program costs will be covered by tuition and fee revenues, and Bridgestone, as well as Nissan, will provide usage of their facilities and equipment for the program. MTSU projects 32 graduates by the end of the monitoring period, and MTSU will seek ABET accreditation. All of their other programs are already ABET accredited after the first graduating class, and the first graduates will be in 2015. Graduates will also be eligible to sit for the Simmons Level 3 certification exam that the MTSU faculty will help to develop. As a Level 3 Simmons certified professional, graduates will be able to design and manage mechatronic systems as well as optimize and improve existing systems. Have before you the timeline of the process. And in summary, this program in mechatronics engineering will have strong partnerships with Nissan, Yates Services, Bridgestone, as well as Simmons in Germany. This distinctive program will offer graduates the opportunity to attain Simmons Level 3 certification, whereby the curriculum and certification will be developed by MTSU Engineering Technology faculty. The mechatronics engineering program will assist in building the state's economic prosperity by providing a better educated and trained workforce. The program was approved by the Board of Regents at their June meeting, and the THEC staff now recommends approval of the Mechatronics Engineering Baccalaureate of Science program at Middle Tennessee State University.
Rich, you want to entertain any questions, comments for Betty? I think maybe just go on to the next program, and then we'll have one vote if there are any questions or comments.
Okay. The next program is East Tennessee State University in Appalachian Studies, and this is a Master's of Arts. ETSU has a long and well-established history of leadership in Appalachian Studies. ETSU has been at the forefront of the evolution of this discipline with the establishment of the Center of Excellence in Appalachian Studies, and that center was established in 1984. Grounded with strong reputation of faculty, there's an undergraduate program and support resources such as the Archives of Appalachia, and we got a chance to tour that during the site visit. This proposed master's program is built upon a foundation for success. The master's program will be 30 to 33 credit hours with either a thesis or comprehensive exam option. This will be an interdisciplinary program that will utilize existing courses and faculty from 3 colleges and existing resources to achieve the program goals. The program will also receive financial support from the Appalachia Regional Commission to support research and travel. Over the 5-year period, 14 graduates are expected to complete this program. Graduates will be able to perform their jobs more effectively and advance into their careers because they understand, and that's key, the social and cultural fabric of the Appalachia region. An understanding of the Appalachia region adds value to a wide variety of career paths such as travel and tourism, human resources, marketing, as well as correction services. Students will also have the opportunity to collaborate with faculty in publishing the Appalachia magazine. And as part of continuous improvement, the program will be evaluated every 7 years. In summary, this degree demonstrates a large commitment by ETSU to support the Appalachia region even more. The program will raise the profile of Appalachia-related issues and help educate the region's citizens with a view towards improving high school as well as college completion rates. The consultant from the University of Kentucky, Dr. Ron Eller, who is a professor of history, was impressed with the faculty, the commitment of the university to the area, as well as the success of the undergraduate program in Appalachia Studies. The program was approved by TBR in June 2013, and we also will be recommending approval of this program. The final program for consideration today is the Creative Writing Masters of Fine Arts at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. UTK has developed a curriculum proposal for the development of the Masters of Fine Arts in Creative Writing. The MFA will advance UTK's institutional imperatives towards discovery as well as innovation and creative activities. The likely publication of novels and books of poetry created by MFA students as well as alumni will garner national and international attention for the university and enrich the literature. The Masters of Arts is no longer a viable degree with which to pursue a career in teaching creative writing. Anyone interested in this field must obtain a MFA, which is now considered the terminal degree in this profession. The program will be funded through existing funding that is being used to fund current English MA students. The curriculum requirements for this program will be 30 credit hours with a 2-year residence program. The coursework is going to be divided with 12 hours of a writing workshop, 12 hours of courses in literature, and 6 hours devoted to the thesis. This MFA program projects to admit 5 students, and these students will be funded. And the delivery method for all instruction will be on ground because the writing workshop will presuppose a community of writers and residents, and they'll be able to discuss these writings as a cohort. With this focus, program attrition will be very low, and the program anticipates that all graduates will complete the program. Every 10 years, the English department undergoes an external review in order to identify its current strengths and weaknesses and to facilitate long-term planning. The MFA program will be included in this review. Also, there is a Poets and Writers magazine that is a widely circulated journal for students and professors in the creative writing profession. And this magazine ranks these programs on the basis of such factors as selectivity, level of funding, and success in placing candidates in desirable academic jobs. And so once the MFA program has been approved and implemented, this new program will be eligible for rankings. The MFA degree will advance the community in terms of artistic creation as well as provide a more appropriate professional degree to those who seek to teach creative writing. The consultant at the University of Florida, Dr. Sidney Wade, indicated that there was good support at all levels for this program and that as the university commits to the goal of being a top 25 public research university. And the UT Board of Trusts did approve this program last month. And so again, staff recommends approval of the Creative Writing Masters of Fine Arts at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. Be happy to answer questions regarding any of these programs.
Questions from the commission on the approval of these 3 programs?
Yes.
Betty, I had a question. Over on the last page, you refer to the fact that the University of Memphis also has an MFA program. Is theirs in creative writing? I know some other areas that they have their MFA, but
Yes. University of Memphis currently is the only other institution that has an MFA program.
in creative writing.
In creative writing, that's correct.
All right.
Other questions from the body? If not, could I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
Carter, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Baum?
Aye.
Mr. Cope?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Jarvis?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Kinsey?
Aye.
Ms. Coben?
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard?
Aye.
The motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Before we move to the next item, I would need a motion to approve the April 25th minutes of this body.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Ms. Carter, would you call the roll?
Mr. Baum?
Aye.
Mr. Cope?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Jarvis?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Kinsey?
Aye.
Ms. Coben?
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard?
Aye.
The motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Our next action item is post-secondary education authorization. Dr. Chase?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Dr. Rhoda, members of the Commission. Good afternoon. We have 2 action items for your consideration today. The first one, the information is listed in Section C, 1C1 and 1C2. The Committee on Post-Secondary Educational Committee institutions recommends that 16 institutions listed in Section 1C1 and the 91 new programs listed in Section 1C2 be granted temporary authorization and approval, respectively.
Take them both together? Continue on that. We'll take them both together.
Well, that's one action
That's
item.
one action.
I'm sorry, yeah, that's.
Any questions for Dr. Chase? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Carter?
Mr. Baum?
Aye.
Mr. Cope?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Jarvis?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Kinsey?
Aye.
Ms. Coben?
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard?
Aye.
The motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
And Julie Woodruff will present the second action item.
Thank you, Dr. Chase.
Good afternoon. THEC submitted proposed rule revisions to Rule Chapter 1540-01-02 on April 1st of this year. At that time, the Secretary of State's website listed the deadline for filing a petition for public hearing as June 29th, and absent such a filing, an effective date of September 28th, 2013. Additionally, the rules received favorable recommendation from the Joint Operations Committee on June 19th. However, on June 26th, the division received a petition for public hearing, and according to the cover letter, the petition was submitted on behalf of National College of Business and Technology and other interested parties. THEC began this rulemaking over 18 months ago, and a detailed timeline is provided in your materials. Since that time, much has happened, including the instant petition filing, but also a legislative session that resulted in changes to our enabling legislation. We've received suggestions from some of our other regulated entities that are not addressed in these proposed rules, and we've also been engaged in litigation with Berry College in Georgia. Pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated Section 45214, a rule may be withdrawn by the agency proposing it at any time prior to its effective date. The withdrawal is effective upon notification to the Secretary of State's office and results in nullification of any rulemaking proceedings undertaken in regard to promulgating the proposed rules. In light of this information, the timeline you have in front of you, and in an effort to avoid repeated rulemakings, on July 11th, the Committee on Post-Secondary Educational Institutions voted to recommend to you that you withdraw the current proposed rules and begin a new rulemaking process using the rulemaking hearing procedures that are defined in the Uniform Administrative Procedures Act. So today, DPSA is asking you to do just that, specifically withdraw the proposed rules and begin a new process using the rulemaking hearing process contained in the Uniform Administrative Procedures Act.
I'm sure we understood all of that. Questions for Ms. Wood?
I probably ought to wait till you vote on this, but I think this obviously is the right course of action. And really, Stephanie and Julie and others on the staff have been very patient throughout this whole process, and things happen. So we're at a point now where we just need to start all over.
What is, Mr. Chairman, this might not be related, but you mentioned the Berry College litigation. What is the status of that?
It was dismissed without prejudice on jurisdictional grounds by the court in Georgia.
Do we have any indication whether it's going to be refiled in another jurisdiction?
We don't know right now.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll move it for approval.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Would you call the roll?
Mr. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Cope?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Jarvis?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Kinsey?
Aye.
Ms. Coben?
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard?
Aye.
The motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will have operating budgets. Dr. D.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is item 1D in your materials. This morning, Crystal Collins gave a thorough presentation of the July 1, 2013-14 operating budgets. Takeaways are it's the first year with a significant investment of new state dollars in several years, about 7%, with very moderate and low fee increases across the institutions. Also a large investment in capital funding, both outlay and major maintenance projects. The expenditure patterns we see throughout the campuses are consistent with prior years. The staff recommendation is for approval and transmission to the Commissioner of F&A.
Questions for Dr. Deaton? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I make a motion that the commission approve the FY 2013-14 July 1 proposed operating budgets, authorize the executive director to make appropriate technical adjustments if necessary, and transmit the operating budgets with the commission's action and comments to the Department of Finance and Administration for their review and approval.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Jarvis?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Kinsey?
Aye.
Ms. Coben?
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard?
Aye.
The motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
So approved.
Next item.
Would you continue?
Sure thing. Item 1E, Austin Peay State University Master Plan, presented this morning in detail by Carl Manka. An excellent plan. The staff has thoroughly reviewed it. It sets out a good agenda for the campus. I'd like to congratulate Dr. Hall and his staff on a very thorough job, as well as the architects and the Board of Regents staff. Staff recommendation here is for approval and then transmission to the State Building Commission for their review and action.
Do we have any questions for Dr. Deaton as it relates to the master plan for Austin Peay? Motion for approval.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Would you call the roll?
Mr. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Cope?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Jarvis?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Kinsey?
Aye.
Ms. Coben?
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard?
Aye.
The motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Next, we have emergency and proposed rules. Mr. Sloan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. The next two items on the agenda, items 1F and 1G, represent revisions that are necessary due to statutory changes that were adopted by the General Assembly in this past year's session. Specifically, item F addresses meningitis immunization requirements on campus. This is in response to Public Chapter 114. We are filing both emergency and proposed rules. The Uniform Administrative Procedures Act grants us the latitude to file emergency rules where an immediate danger to the public health exists. Given the dangers of this disease, we feel that the filing of emergency rules and any additional notice we can provide to the public is necessary. I'd be happy to answer any specific questions on this rules revision.
Questions on the first rule? Now, can I have a motion for approval?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Commission adopts Rule 1540-0109 as proposed in emergency rules, and that the Commission authorizes the Executive Director to make any necessary technical corrections to these rules, including changes required by the Tennessee Attorney General.
Second.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and second. Ms. Connor, will you call the roll?
Mr. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Cope?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Jarvis?
Aye.
Mr. Johnston?
Aye.
Mr. Kinsey?
Aye.
Ms. Coben?
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard?
Aye.
The motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Continue.
The next item, Commission members, is item 1G. This is in response to Public Chapter 345 and extends the tuition discount currently available to the children of retired public school teachers. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have on that topic.
Questions on this item? Not, do I hear a motion? Second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Cope?
Aye.
Ms. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Jarvis?
Aye.
Mr. Johnston?
Aye.
Mr. Kinsey?
Aye.
Ms. Coben?
Aye.
Treasurer Lillard?
Aye.
The motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commission members.
That should be all our action items.
That concludes the action items. Just to clarify, the same kind of provision on the motion for these rules as on the previous, that if the AG's office suggests any technical changes, we'll do that.
So now we'll go back to the beginning of the agenda and have the Executive Director report, followed by the systems report. So, Dr. Rowe.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Congratulations to the new officers. And Chairman Johnson, you know you have our fullest support. Look forward to working with you. I think you characterizing this as the challenging time is quite accurate. But anyway, it's exciting times, too. I, too, would like to welcome Pam Coben to the Commission, and Robert Fisher, who is our new student who could not be here. And I've told Pam this before, I think this is an important group, an engaged commission, and I think you'll enjoy it. So glad you're with us. Also to Adam Jarvis, if you're still with us on the line, you're now a voting member of the commission in your second year, and we look forward to working with you again, continuing in that capacity. Welcome to guests. I would like to recognize one person who is our Maxine Smith Fellow this year, and that's Dr. Darrell Carter. Here, Darrell is a history professor at ETSU and has already begun his work with commission staff, and we look forward to him. We appreciate him being part of the team this year. Just a couple of all these are informal or information items. References have been made earlier today about the Drive to 55 initiative. This has been characterized as a enhanced continuation of the Complete College Tennessee Act, and I think that is accurate. In many ways, it's far more robust than the CCTA, but it continues on all those good things that were put in place. Mike Krause spoke this morning about the sales program, which is, again, it's all about educational attainment. It's all about better serving students as being, I would say, under the umbrella of Drive to 55. We've tried to communicate to the Commission ongoing discussions on the MOOC front, the massively open online coursework. I would say that's all part of this as well. The adult initiatives that have been discussed when Jessica Gibson has been very much a part of putting together. And by the way, we're looking forward to Jessica returning from maternity leave soon, but all is well. Mother, child, and husband there. So there are just a lot of things under the Drive to 55 umbrella, and I think at some point very soon the work of Randy Boyd who's been working with us, and Dr. DiPietro and Chancellor Morgan on this. Randy in his role as special advisor to the governor for higher education. I think it'll take form, and it'll be something that has more concreteness to it than certainly I'm aware of now, but all very good things. Part of that also is, and we discussed a little bit this morning, the financial aid. It is due for major reform at the federal level, and I would like to think that Tennessee is positioned as a state to take on some of those experimental or the fee waivers of regulations, if at all possible. Something else I just wanted to note, lastly, about this Drive to 55 and things being put in that context and aligned as part of the driving to greater educational attainment. Just a couple of weeks ago, the THEC board acted, and there was legislation this year authorizing the transfer of funds from the THEC operating fund, those funds being generated when THEC was a guarantee agency, but $47 million of that fund has now been transferred in the form of endowment for the sole purpose of supporting need-based financial aid. So members of the THEC board, they're involved in that, specifically Claude Presnell, who made sure that that was done for all the right reasons and done appropriately. I think that's a real coup. It may be without precedent as far as a state endowing a need-based financial aid program. I probably ought to check on that before I repeat that too many times. But one last comment on the Drive to 55. There's a lot of promise there, and it's the good work of UT, the Board of Regents, and the private institutions, THEC institutions. And again, I would thank Claude for his participation in all those. Related to that, but not directly under the Drive to 55, I guess, we welcome Western Governors University to Tennessee. That was officially launched a few weeks ago. And the good news is that the first chancellor of Western Governors University, Tennessee, is Dr. Kim Estep, who is known to many in the room. Kim has served at Nashville State as the chief academic officer. She knows Tennessee higher education. She's very familiar with the community colleges and the academic programs, and that's very much part of what I think the promise of Western Governors to be part of, not just a one-size-fits-all, but tailored as much as possible to Tennessee. So we welcome them. And on the staff level, Betty Danders Johnson, Scott Sloan, and Mike Krause were the ones who did the heavy lifting, and others, on what it took to the memorandum of understanding and other aspects of the inner workings of making that happen. Another item, but related to all these, just to note that we find ourselves in a position as a state as being looked to as a leader in many aspects of higher education, and we don't take that lightly. Again, UT, Board of Regents, THEC, but and I think we're handling this responsibly. But just as recently as last week, some of us were asked to be in a Gates Foundation program of talking with other states, selected other states, about how the outcomes-based funding formula came about. Dale Sims, Chief Fiscal Officer for the Board of Regents, Crystal Collins, Chris Whaley, President of Roane State Community College, and I, and former Governor Bredesen were part of that conference, and just telling the story. Next week, we're hosting a strategy lab. And actually, Russ, not to put you on the spot, but could you say a few words about that? He wasn't dozing, I hope. He was
I was texting my friends at the time. Now, next Thursday, we're hosting, again, as Dr. Wood said, a strategy lab. And these are convenings where other states come in and try to get an intensive learning experience from a host state who has expertise in a particular subject matter. And luckily, Tennessee's been identified as having that expertise regarding finance reform policy, specifically that outcomes-based funding formula. These are states from across the country who are at varying stages of consideration for moving in this direction. They are bringing with them state legislators, legislative staff, governor's staff, higher ed officials to learn more, not so much about the technical aspects per se, but the policy background, the political context, how to think through the policy trade-offs that is inherent within a structure like this. And so to be held in this room, about 30 folks coming in to learn and have conversation with us about some of the innovations going on here in Tennessee next Thursday.
So we will keep you posted on that. And if any commission members have an interest in being part of that, please do. It'll be a good experience. One last thing on where we find ourselves as a state. We also hosted a lawmaker and chief staff member from the state of Utah who were in town, and about that same kind of walkthrough. So we've made ourselves available without being obnoxious, trying to be helpful to these other states. Two more things. The Berry College. I need to consult with you about this. There was litigation, and it was dismissed. It may be a good idea to pause and take a look at whether we should waive the regulation that relates to an out-of-state institution purely advertising in Tennessee. So we've requested an AG opinion about the statute that requires that, but at the same time, I have the authority under existing rules to waive regulations or a regulation or regulations, and this may be a good opportunity to do that. So again, I'm not asking for your approval, but I would appreciate any comments along those lines. But it would be contingent upon the AG's opinion to do that. But I think it would probably be in the public interest that we pursue that. And the last item, Mr. Chair, changes in staff. We've had a small number of new staff members join us and a small number leaving us. I would welcome to the staff Mary Laughlin, who is back there, I believe, who is part of the P16 staff. Thank you, Mary. She was back there. Yeah. Mary is finishing up her master's degree in higher education administration at Vanderbilt, and she has joined us as a graduate assistant. And leaving us, unfortunately, is Thomas Sanford. And I don't know if Thomas is
closing on the sale of his home tonight.
Yeah. Makes it pretty permanent, doesn't it?
Yeah. I held out till
That's good timing.
That's right. That's perfect.
Yeah. So, Thomas was with us for 3 years, I believe, and did tremendously good work with the lottery scholarship primarily, but other aspects as our assistant executive director of policy, planning and research. But he is going to join the faculty of St. Cloud University in Minnesota, and I think that's his interests are in being on the faculty and on the scholarship side of higher education, and we certainly will miss him, and we wish him well. So that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Rowley. Any questions for Dr. Rowley? Anything else any commission members would like to know about his report? Now we will move to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I got just kind of random things to mention to you that are going on that I think you may find of interest. First, perhaps and foremost for us, I think y'all all know a little over a year ago, Paula Short, who was our Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, had an opportunity to move to Houston and go to work for the University of Houston, and just recently has been named the permanent provost at the University of Houston, which was a great opportunity for her. But left us in a position to have an interim vice chancellor. I wish he was here today. Kay Clark stepped in and served in that capacity in what I believe was an extraordinarily able fashion. It was almost almost to the day that Paula left, we started having challenges in academic affairs that were really new and different, things that we had never been faced with before. And Kay, I think, regretted, well, probably not regretted, but he certainly questioned his judgment in accepting the interim position pretty quickly, but did a tremendous job, but was not interested in a permanent position. He certainly wanted to be interim and not considered for the permanent job. So we did a search, and as sometimes happens when you do a national search, what you find is that best candidate is somebody who you already know well, is already here, and Tristan Denley is accepted the appointment, and that will be effective August 19th, I think, will be Tristan's first day at the Tennessee Board of Regents, and we're very excited to have him. He is incredibly energetic, focused on student success, willing to innovate, but particularly innovations that promise success. And will bring a energy level, I think, and a focus on student success to the board that will serve us well as we try to do our part in the drive to 55. So we're quite excited that Tristan will be joining us. Kind of happy that Tim Hall's not here today, because every time I talk about this in his presence, he gives me frankly dirty looks, and he'll miss Tristan significantly, but I did try to give President Hall some instruction about the theory of the greater good. I'm not sure it was very successful yet, but I'll continue to do that as I have that opportunity. But we're quite excited about Tristan joining us. Rich mentioned MOOCs, massive open online courses, and our system, together with the UT system, have embarked upon what I think will be a very meaningful pilot approach to evaluating the technology that's being used by the major MOOC providers. That would be Coursera, edX, and Udacity is the third. We did enter into a contract with Coursera to do a pilot project. We hope this fall we'll bring a couple of courses up using the Coursera platform and be able to see what that technology or that evolving technology may offer us in terms of better opportunities for teaching and learning in our system. It's really not a MOOC. It's really more what they're calling now SPOC, which is a small private online course as opposed to massive open online course. But it does give us the ability to see how this technology may be brought to bear in order to expand our ability to be successful with students. So we're quite excited about that. We're working on a similar deal with edX. Haven't yet finalized that. That probably wouldn't come up until spring. But again, a couple of pilot courses to try to evaluate how that works compared to the other methods that we use for online and on-ground and hybrid instruction. So that's something I think is going to be fun to come back and report to you at a later date about how we're doing there. Monday, I think, is the 29th, July 29th, we will be launching our statewide marketing campaign for Tennessee's community colleges. You know, one of the elements in the Complete College Act was to begin to view our community colleges more as a comprehensive system, less as 13 individual institutions, and we're very much about the business of doing that. We believe, to the extent we're successful in branding the system and communicating the value proposition of the Tennessee community college system, it will go a long way toward enhancing our ability to attract enrollment, both adult enrollment, returning to college enrollment, as well as recent high school graduates into our community college system. It's not at all to say that we have too many students enrolled in universities. We don't. But we have too few students enrolled in community colleges. And we believe this is an important step toward trying to build that brand on a statewide basis of why community college is a good choice for many students. And you'll be seeing that. Hopefully you'll see that about 21 times over the course of the next 3 or 4 months. if our estimates of market penetration of our ag campaign is successful. This will be the first. We then will follow that up with more focused, more targeted. It's built around the theme that educating Tennessee is a big deal. And you'll see various kinds of variations on that theme on TV. And if you go to the movie, hopefully you'll see that as you're sitting there waiting for your movie to start. And a whole variety of social media opportunities that we're trying to exploit with that message. One couple other things. I'll try to be brief. I think it was noted earlier in the work session. Tennessee Technology Centers are no longer. They're now the Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology. It's a name change. It really doesn't signal any change in terms of programming or credentials. But what it does, we believe, is convey to the marketplace in a more effective way the value of those institutions as we provide workforce training and certification or certifications of various types to students who are interested in working, entering the workforce with a credential that will well prepare them and will be meaningful for employers. So that around the office now, if you revert and say TTC, you got to put $1 in the jar. It's going to TCATs. They're TCATs, Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology. Two other things, and then I promise I'll stop talking. Brad Martin, who I think I announced to y'all back sometime, maybe at our previous meeting, was going to serve as the interim president of the University of Memphis. Shirley Raines did in fact retire, as she threatened to do at the end of June. And Brad has assumed the interim presidency, and I will have to say he has assumed that role with great energy and really a lot of creative and innovative kind of thinking that's already coming out in a very short period of time since he's been there. I think we'll find that this is an opportunity as we make a transition from a very able and successful president at the University of Memphis to a permanent leader sometime next year. I think it does give us the opportunity to take a different look at the university and its connectivity with Shelby County and the regional economy. And I think Brad is in a particularly good position given his background in business, but also with a very strong connection with the University of Memphis over his life. But it does give us an opportunity to look at some things differently, ask different questions, and see what we can do in order to identify ways to move the university forward, perhaps create a roadmap for the next permanent leader to give them some ideas about things that deserve attention, deserve focus in order to position the university better in West Tennessee and in the region. And then finally, one of the things that Rich had mentioned, Tennessee does have a national reputation now in a very positive way in terms of higher education. Governor Bredesen, who had been invited or was invited to be on the program that Rich noted around the Complete College Act and outcome-based formula and so forth last week. He's also been asked and is accepted to chair the National Commission on College and University Board Governance. That is an effort that the AGB, which is Association of Governing Boards, has somewhere from around 1,400 or 1,500 institutions and systems that are members of AGB, really looking at the issue of governance, of how boards of systems, how boards of institutions can best fulfill their responsibilities in terms of governance. He will be the chair of that national commission. It's got about 24 people on it, and they're some pretty high-powered folk. So that not only I think is a tribute to him, but it's also a tribute to Tennessee because we are regarded as a state that has shown leadership in higher education issues, and that's just one more of several examples that we could point to. So with that, Mr. Chairman, that is my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions or receive any accolades from anybody. Answer any questions that you might have.
Chancellor, there will be no accolades. No. Chancellor, thank you. UT report, Mr. President.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Just thinking, John, it's a lot more fun being here than in a hearing over in the legislative conference. So at any rate, we too are involved with the Coursera effort and pilot approach. We've had tremendous interest across our system by our faculty. If you've been following higher education reports, there have been some institutions as they've tried to implement an approach toward online learning where the faculty have been anxious about that. A lot of credit goes to Dr. Katie High, who's really led this effort, but essentially we have a lot more interest than we can deploy among the faculty. We have three of four pilot courses delineated at this point. One will be fully online. That will be an undergraduate general education music course offered by UT Martin. We'll have two that will be hybrids with online material and then intense classroom experience and interaction with faculty. Be a freshman composition course at Chattanooga, at UT Chattanooga, and an entry-level general education math course will be offered by Knoxville. The pilot courses, you'd think it might be easy to produce all this material, but essentially Coursera wants us to do it all again. So faculty have to be engaged in videotaping, putting their materials together, even though they may have done this prior in another media format. The music composition course will definitely be available this fall. The others will follow after that. And again, probably one of the most interesting things to me is we've asked the question, John and his people have too, do students learn the same way or to the same extent using either of these methods, the traditional classroom approach, and we'll be comparing that to the online approach with the Coursera effort. Coursera also is interesting because they understand that people learn best, in their opinion, in small snippets. Charles. So they are asking us to do these in 10 to 12 minute segments so that students can come look at it, learn it, prove their competency, and move on to the next topic. We had a very good spring commencement. We set records at Chattanooga and Martin, and across the system there were 6,200 plus graduates from the University of Tennessee this past spring. And also our six-year graduation rate across the system, if you look at the average, has ticked up slightly. But probably one of the most impressive statistics is we produced nearly 20% more PhDs this year than we did last year. So we're definitely doing something right. In Memphis at the Health Science Center, they were recently recognized by U.S. News and World Report's best hospitals. Le Bonheur Children's Hospital was named one of the nation's best. It's the third year in a row that we've been on that list. That's indeed a partnership between our College of Medicine there and the Methodist Le Bonheur Methodist System. There were 5 areas named in that, including neurology, pulmonology, cardiology, heart surgery, and neurosurgery as among the best. Nephrology and urology, all of those except for neurosurgery are fully manned by UT faculty. So we're very proud of that. I've always said to my wife, Deb, if one of our grandbabies had the unfortunate circumstance of getting seriously ill, we'd head right to Memphis in a heartbeat. The College of Veterinary Medicine just received notification from the Council on Accreditation of the ABMA that they're fully accredited now. A few years ago in 2009, we went through issues largely around containment facilities for infectious disease and the surgical facilities in the large animal hospital. And it was at a time frame where the state's budget was in real trouble, and so we cobbled together an approach with funds from a number of sources. We appreciate all those parties that participated, including the state, the college itself, some use of federal stimulus money, and the indulgence of the building commission to make sure we got it all taken care of from the standpoint of a need to complete. And the college still remains with a $6 million debt in order to have the new facility. But we're very, very pleased that they're fully accredited by the ABMA, and their grand opening will be September 21st. Building's fantastic. There's probably not any finer facility in the world to train veterinarians in than that one. Parsons Center with University of Tennessee Martin has broken ground this past Monday. It was a $2.25 million building which will house a nursing program. So there'll be 30 more baccalaureate nurses produced in that program as a result of that Parsons Center. It was a combination from monies from the West Tennessee Healthcare Foundation, state funding, and private gifts that made that possible. As you know, this past legislative session, we were fortunate to receive monies to expand the College of Engineering at Knoxville. And we have a record-breaking number of freshmen this fall, 708 students, 14% increase in engineering in Knoxville. And we've seen a surge in doctoral enrollment. It's up 62% in the College of Engineering at Knoxville. And we've expanded that faculty also as well by including 9 governor's chairs as part of that college. We have a real focus on Knoxville's engineering college. We think we have a real advantage with many of the disciplines in engineering at that college because of its proximity to Oak Ridge National Lab. And we've also, the college itself and the Knoxville campus is trying to increase and endow professorships in those disciplines too. It's also capstoned by 2 major construction projects on the back of major gifts. The Mincow Electrical Engineering Building was dedicated in 2012. A gift from Mincow provided that building, which was a $37.5 million building. There was state support as part of that package too. And then later this year in the fall, we'll be dedicating the John D. Tickle Engineering Building. It too is very, very needed from the standpoint of facility issues in that college, and that'll put them in very, very good shape. And the research expenditures across the system in the last year are the highest ever at $465 million in expenditures. So we're tracking properly there. And so things are looking very up right now. We have a lot of things headed in the right direction, including the fact that I don't have any searches going on. That's always good. The team's complete. We've got a new chancellor at UT Chattanooga. Steve Engel is his name. He couldn't be with us. He's at meetings in California. And he was a senior vice president at Wright State and formerly the provost there. And he was part of the Complete College Ohio plan. And he has experience as a dean at University of California, Riverside, where he turned their completion statistics around. And that was one of the major reasons we were very interested in him. He's also a scholar. He's a chemist and a researcher. He knows more about plant alkaloids than any of us care, I bet. But he gets very excited if you get him on that track. And lastly, I have with me our new Vice President for Communications and Marketing, Dr. Tanjanita Johnson. Tanja, stand up, please. She began on June 24th. Prior to being here, she was Chief Deputy to the President at SUNY Stony Brook. She was Associate VP for Marketing and Communications at Middle Tennessee State University. She hails from the South, Alabama. And she's served several roles at Mississippi Valley State University. She's a former news reporter and graphic designer. She has a PhD in urban higher education, and we're very pleased to have her with us.
Welcome. Great.
And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have too.
Just a point of clarification. Did I hear you correct? The $465 million for research expenditure, is that statewide?
No, that's statewide across the entire system, and it's these are external grants, not state dollars. Yes, ma'am. Well, that's very, very good. Knoxville's gap on the top 25 in this area is huge. It's over $200 million. So we have to continue to charge forward even harder and faster.
Chancellor, he may get some accolades because he mentioned my institution.
Well, there you go.
It's a way to get accolades.
A good lesson.
Any additional questions? Okay, we have 4 information items left, so why don't we start with these? Diversity in Teaching Grant Awards. Mr. Brown.
Thanks.
Good afternoon. Congratulations, Chairman Johnson, Dr. Rhoda, members of the Commission. I'll be very brief this afternoon. THEC has over a 20-year history of administering a grant program that focuses on providing and placing more teachers from underrepresented groups in classrooms across the state. The program started as the Minority Teacher Education Program, and after the Geyer Act, the program became the Diversity in Teaching Program. Although changes to the program were made by the law, obviously, there continues to be a need to address the shortage of teachers that embrace diversity as an instructional tool. We received 7 different program proposals from across the state. Each of the program proposals focused on curriculum and retention, passing the practice examination, and obtaining licensure. Out of the 7 program proposals, 3 were funded, 2 from the UT system and 1 THEC University. Please note that a summary of the programs can be found on, in item 2A. Selection committee convened on May 16th to review and evaluate each of the program proposals. The committee included representatives from UT, TBR, the Tennessee Education Association, THEC, and THEC. We want to thank each of them for their help and hard work. It was a very difficult task, but we chose some amazing programs. The result of these funded proposals will basically provide direct assistance to students and ultimately place more teachers that embrace diversity as an instructional tool in classrooms across the great state of Tennessee. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, our next information items, Tennessee Higher Education Fact Book. Dr. Martin.
Good afternoon, Dr. Rodham, members of the commission. My name is David Wright, and I work in the division of THEC that's called Policy, Planning, and Research. We have 3 units within our division. One has to do with our data management folks that make sure that the data we use to bring these kinds of reports to you is as good as it can be. And we have our policy implementation and grants management folks, Jessica Gibson and Wilson Finch. And then we have our research and reporting staff. Thomas Sanford has led that until now and for 1 more week. On his staff is Kim Martin, a recent PhD from the University of Florida, very well qualified. And her husband, by the way, is on the faculty at Austin Peay as well. So we were able to lure her down here from Clarksville, and I think you guys live in sort of in between now, so that makes it commute a little bit easier. The Tennessee Higher Education Fact Book is what she's going to report on, and while it's long been recognized as sort of the cornerstone piece of our ongoing program of research and reporting, it's a great desk reference, but sometimes finding the story in there, or a story in there, requires your secret decoder ring. So she is going to come and help decode some of that for you, and I think give you some information and tie it together in a way that I think you'll find compelling. The fact book, we ceased printing hard copies of that a few years ago to save trees. It's now on our website under our legislative reports button. Kim?
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to thank everyone who played a role in developing the fact book. It really is a team effort. It's not just us on the PPR staff. Although PPR works very hard, especially our data collection section, we also had help from the fiscal folks, also academic affairs, and some people from TBR and UT also played a role in the development. So for all the work they did, I thank them. Okay, so the Higher Education Fact Book gives us an overall view of higher education in Tennessee at several distinct points. So the first point, or the first section, shows trends in student enrollment based on a number of student characteristics, such as age, race, and gender. The second section gives us a count of post-secondary grads by institution, major and award level, and also includes 6-year graduation rates. The third section includes information on academic programs, tuition and fees, instructor salary, and state appropriations. And finally, the fourth section gives us a historical and future data on the outcomes-based funding formula model. So as David Wright mentioned, we have the fact book is available on our website under the legislative heading. Also, if you received the notebook, you should have a copy of the entire fact book in there as well. This particular presentation that I'm about to give, you have copies of this, if commission members, and there'll also be copies of this on our website later on today after we get it put up. Okay, so this first slide shows us head count by sector during the fall of 2012. This slide includes credit-bearing or degree-seeking students and is unduplicated, which means that students were only counted once at each institution. So our total overall head count for everyone, every sector, every system, this includes proprietary schools, and it also includes THEC institutions, is 400,908 students. As you can see from this, TBR community colleges and TBR universities make up the greatest number of students enrolled. They also share the largest proportion of this amount at 23%. It's not exactly 23% on each side due to rounding, but the takeaway is that they have the largest proportion of students and share the largest portion of enrollment. Okay, so this is an even more detailed look at head count broken down by system and broken down by sector. I don't have completely accurate data for proprietary institutions going back too far, so in this case I've left them out of this particular slide. But if you look on the right, this is fall total head count, which corresponds to the information I gave you in the previous slide. As you can see, between 2011 and 2012, enrollment decreased by about 6,700 students in total. And if you take proprietary schools and THEC institutions out of this, it decreased by around 8,000 students in total between those 2 years. All right, the greatest decrease was with community colleges, which decreased by about 4,000 students. TBR universities decreased by 2,500 students, and the technology colleges by about 1,100 students over the course of a year. Over the same period of time, headcount at UT universities remained steady, while THEC institutions increased by about 1,700 students. Now, if you would like a more detailed look at exactly which institutions have decreased in enrollment during this period of time, you can look at page 5 on the fact book. We have it out by, we have it more detailed by each institution then. Okay, so I want to focus primarily on public institutions since this is where we're seeing the largest decrease. Now this slide shows us the change in enrollment in public institutions over time. The decrease in enrollment has, of course, affected FTE as well, FTE being a good way for us to see the ratio between part-time students and full-time students. Now, so what changed over the course of these past 2 years, past couple of years? And can we predict or can we see some sort of trend in this? Are these trends going to continue into the future? Now, what I believe is happening are two things simultaneously. And the first thing that I believe is happening is the economy in general. So our government has decided that the recession began December 2007 and that it officially ended in June of 2009. In the end of 2010, we started to see some level of recovery, and by January of 2012, our unemployment rate went below 8.5%. By August of that same year, it went below 8%. So what we think is beginning to happen is more jobs become available, so fewer people are choosing higher education as an option. Now, we have some evidence that supports this. Our high school senior opinion survey, along with some data from the National Center for Education Statistics, surveyed a group of high school students and asked them why they decided not to attend college. Of those students who responded to the survey, 35% of them said that the reason they didn't attend was because they either had a job lined up or they felt confident in the job market, like they could go out and go ahead and get a job. I also wanted to mention FTE. If you can take a look at the 2010 and then the 2011 line, FTE began to decrease before enrollment began to decrease. I believe that that happened because students started going part-time before they decided to drop out entirely. Okay, so if you have a large enough sample over time for enrollment, you'll see that it follows sort of a linear line or sort of a natural line, which is this blue line here on the slide. Now, what we actually think is going to happen, what we predict is going to happen, is this is going to form some sort of an S-type curve, where we will in the next few years drop below this line for enrollment levels and then come back up to the regular natural line over time. Now, there's a lot of research out there that shows that enrollment and the economy are counter-cyclical, meaning that as the economy continues to improve, fewer people are going to enroll in higher education. And then as the economy declines, you see fewer people enrolling in higher education. I also this also affects the FTE as well, but I didn't add this to the next curve. All right, so for me to prove my hypothesis to you, I came up with the next slide. Now, what this is fall public enrollment in Tennessee from 1979 until 2002. What's in that red circle there is zoomed out what is in this slide right here. Okay, so what's so interesting about this is I wanted to figure out why we were having these increases. You can see sort of the S curve taking effect throughout this. I wanted to see where the increases were specifically. All right, so 1973 to 1975, we had some issues with stagflation and some oil issues, which actually we always have oil issues, but in particular during that time period. But this period of time was something that economists like to refer to as W recession. So in other words, recession was sort of yo-yoing in and out throughout these couple of years. All right, then in 1989, we had the savings and loans crisis, and I'm about to contradict myself, but there really isn't any other better way to describe this. After this savings and loan crisis in 89 to 90, this would follow by a long period of economic growth, probably one of the longest periods of economic growth in our history throughout the entire decade of the 90s. And with that, it brought sort of a renewed look at, a renewed emphasis on higher education. Then we get to now our recent 2007 recession. So you can see that these correspond with the S-type curve with enrollment. All right, so the second issue that I believe is contributing to enrollment issues is the decrease in enrollment in high school graduates in Tennessee. So this particular table is not available in the fact book. I actually got this from the Western Interstate Commission on Higher Education. They have a report knocking at the college door, and what they do is they look at high school graduation numbers in each state, and then they also project out into the future. So from the left, about 2007 till 2011, you'll notice that high school graduates increased by about 3,000 in the state of Tennessee. Then, once you get to 2011, it starts to decline all the way until this projection goes until 2014. All right, so I've included this line here so that we know what we're looking at as far as enrollment now. We're in the fact book looking at fall enrollment in 2012, and these are the students that are affecting these enrollment numbers. So why do we have a decrease in high school graduates? The Western Interstate Commission's report says that this may just simply be a case of a lower number of people in that age group, that it really doesn't have a lot to do with students necessarily dropping out and leaving high school. It's just more a reflection of how many people are there in the beginning. Okay, so this next slide, we're looking at fall public first-time freshman enrollment. So these are the students who are coming in 2012, brand new first-time freshmen, and we see this decrease in their enrollment at this point. This corresponds with this decrease in 2012 because these are the high school students that are graduating from high school in 2012. So we can see this reflecting in the trend line. All right, so another issue or another question might be, so if fewer high school students are graduating, are there fewer high schoolers attending college? Well, that's simply just not the case. We've noticed that of the students who are graduating from high school, we actually have been having an increase over the past few years who then decide to go on to post-secondary education. In 2010, 66.4% of the Tennessee high school graduates who graduated from high school then went on to college afterwards. Now this gets a little bit confusing, so I want to sort of parse this out. But so of those 66.4% of students who graduated and then went on to college, 84.9% of them then enrolled in-state, in Tennessee. So this is a pretty good number. We feel very optimistic about this. And to me, this basically says that the issue with decreases in enrollment has more to do with the number of students in high school than it does with whether they're enrolling or whether they're going into in-state institutions. Okay, so this particular slide looks at retention rates. These are first-time, full-time freshmen entering during the fall cohort and then returning during the following fall. So to explain this, if you look all the way to the left-hand column, with TBR community colleges, the blue line reflects the 2009 cohort, so those freshmen coming in during 2009, did they then return in 2010? So from here we can see that 59.4% of them then returned in 2010. If you look at TBR universities in the red bar in the center, of the 2010 cohort who came in, 79.7% of them returned in 2011. Now these decreases are really something that we would expect to see given the decrease in enrollment. Some students may have come in during their first year and then left for a job. We don't know if they were coming directly from high school or from somewhere else. Okay, so here's the slide that everybody always wants to see, particularly people in the media these days. These are the 6-year graduation rates for Tennessee. So the way that we calculate 6-year graduation rates is we start with a cohort, in this case 2006, and then we track them throughout 6 years to see if they graduated during that period of time. From here, this dark purple line, this is the average for Tennessee. So basically in the 2006 cohort, 43.2% of them graduated within 6 years. Now, some people like to ask, how do we measure up with our peers at Southern Regional Education Board states? I get nervous about comparing us in Tennessee to other states. Comparing institutions in different states is sort of like apples and oranges. But as far as SREB with community colleges, our 6-year graduation rate is about in the middle, and our public 4-year institutions is actually less than average. Okay, so now what I'm looking at in this figure, what we're looking at, are degrees awarded by award level. Now the first thing that stands out here is obviously this huge increase in certificates, 1 to 2 year certificates, and less than 1 year certificates. The 1 to 2 year certificates actually increased between 2010 to 2011 by 300%, and certificates from less than 1 year certificates increased by about 150%. So why the increase? This really relates to the way that certificates are structured, because now they're considered stacked or embedded in a degree program. So basically you could receive 2, 3, 4, or 5 certificates on your way to earning, say, an associate's degree. Now, an example of this is embedded certificate comes from Nashville State Community College. So this is an associate's degree in business management with a concentration in logistics. As you can see, if you take these first 3 courses and earn these first 9 credit hours, you would then receive a logistics certificate. You could do this within a semester, basically. Then you move on, the next 2 credit hours, 15 transportation certificate, and so on, 21 hours, and you'd receive the supply chain certificate. So you could potentially receive 2 extra certificates within 1 year. And this is adding to this increase over time. From now on, we can probably expect to see these changes in award level to be consistent. But what's really important is that we do distinguish between what is being counted here and what is in the funding formula. And I'm going to really quickly have Dr. Risteaton talk about the funding formula and how these certificates apply to it.
Yeah, if you needed evidence the formula is working, here you go. The distinction that's important that Dr. Martin refers to is that the formula is trying to capture certificates, particularly of the short-term variety, that far left-hand column, less than 1 year, which represent essentially as far as that student got. If the student is achieving short-term certificates, stackable in a degree, embedded within an associate's, and they continue to pursue and acquire an associate's degree or further, those are the degrees we focus on and count in the formula. If they were to get 5 certificates on their way to the associate's degree, we don't count those 5 along with the associates. We stop and only count them if that's as far as they got, trying to keep within the spirit of CCTA. So that's the primary distinction of interest here between the formula and what's counted in the fact book.
Another noticeable and interesting fact is that since the Complete College Tennessee Act began or was put into place in 2010, we've seen a pretty steady 10% increase in associate's degrees every year since that time. Okay, so this slide is looking at mandatory tuition and fees at institutions over time. What's notable here is that obviously tuition and fees have doubled over the course of 10 years. I ran compound annual growth rates, and on average it's between 3 and 4% each year. However, this isn't on the slide, but it is interesting to note that if we look at the national average for four-year institutions, we are actually about $1,000 below what the national average is. And we're about on par with our peers in the SREB. And another good thing is that our tuition is actually lower than a lot of our neighbors in Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, South Carolina, and Virginia. We actually have lower tuition rates than they do. Okay, so for this slide, I wanted to take a look at compound annual growth rate, I mean not compound annual growth rates, but consumer price index, and look at adjusted tuition rates. This is just for four-year institutions. I used Consumer Price Index, the urban version, just simply because it's easy to understand. A lot of people use it, and I decided sort of to stay away from higher education cost adjustment in this case. I believe that this one's a little bit more fair. Okay, so basically what we're seeing here is on the right with 10-year percent change. If you don't consider inflation for 2012 dollars, we have 112% in change. And if you do consider inflation, if you do adjust for inflation, we have a 66% increase in tuition over 10 years. Okay, so with our final slide, we're looking at debt of Tennessee students over a 2-year period. Our national rank this past for 2010 and 2011 is actually 43. This is good. You want to be towards 50. 50 is the least amount of debt, and 1 is the most amount of debt. So the fact that we're moving up the chain is a great thing. You'll notice that average debt has actually increased from $19,000 to $20,000. I think that this is really a case of tides, all tides rising, all boats at different states. I think that what's happening is that not just debt is increasing in our state, but it's also increasing in other states as well. To the right, you'll see the percentage with debt. We're actually dropping. Remember, you want to be closer to 50. You don't want to be closer to 1. 50 is good, 1 is bad as far as national rankings. Now we have 53% of students with debt. I think this might have something to do with the purchasing power of HOPE scholarship. I think a lot more students are probably taking out loans to make up the amount that they're not getting with scholarship money. It doesn't mean that they're taking out a lot more debt. It just means that they're taking out some debt in order to reach their tuition levels.
Excuse me, does ETSU not know debt?
Okay, so basically the universities have to report this to the Project on Student Debt, and some of them decide just not to report it. There isn't really necessarily a reason they decide not to, but they just chose not to report this year, or this past year, that year that it was reported. All right, so I know I just threw a lot of information at you all at one time, so if you have any questions, please let me know.
Any questions, Dr. Martin? Thank you.
Okay.
First to the top update.
I kind of like the way David had introduced that presentation because there is an awful lot of information in the fact book. Just by, I mean, that's the whole idea of it. You can work your way through it. Yes.
Dr. Chairman, Dr. Rhoda, members of the Commission, I'm here to give you a brief update on one of the Race to Talk projects, our STEM Professional Development Grant Program. For those of you who are not familiar with this program, this is a program that uses the expertise of our higher education institutions to deliver quality STEM professional development to our K-12 STEM teachers. We use the colleges of education to focus on the pedagogy element and the colleges of arts and sciences to make sure that the K-12 teachers really get an emphasis in whatever they're teaching, such as chemistry, biology, math, etc. We have 2 different rounds in this program. The first round began in February 2011 and finished last December, and then the second round we are currently in. It started in May 2012 and will finish in this December. It shows you a map of the counties that we are currently serving. Obviously, keep in mind that the universities can only serve counties that can get to them in a reasonable amount of time, because these groups meet for about 2 weeks during the summer and also in the spring and fall in order to receive at least 80 contact hours. In the first round, we had 6 institutions involved, 11 programs involving 33 counties. For round 2, it was a much larger grant. We had 18 programs with 7 institutions. And this one, total, we served about $6 million over the 29 different programs, I should say. This summer with round 2, we are in the middle of our site visits, and I've been able to travel across the state visiting the different institutions in order to get a really good feel of what's going on. It's part of our monitoring process. We also make sure that we monitor them for their financial aspects and go over all of their invoicing reporting, as well as other requirements such as ensuring that both colleges are not using too much of their funding. This is an example of how we are serving the state statewide, overlapping with the two. We are doing a heavy evaluation piece, and the first report from round 1 will be released this coming fall, and then the final report will come out next summer. This report will then be disseminated through the Tennessee STEM Innovation Network, so that all of our K-12 and higher education faculty members who are interested in PD can see a good example of best practices and what we've learned throughout this process. That's all I have for you today. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any additional questions? Okay, if not, we will P16 initiatives update. Program.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Rhoda, members of the Commission. Thank you so much for your time today. For those of you who might be new to the Commission, the Office of P16 Initiatives manages a suite of college access initiatives focused on increasing the number of Tennesseans who are prepared to successfully transition and succeed in post-secondary education. We really target our work to low-income, underserved populations, and I'm going to talk about 3 of our grant programs today. The first being the College Access Challenge Grant, the second being a project that we're working on with Race to the Top Funds, the Tennessee College Access and Success Network, and the final one being Gear Up TN. Okay, so we'll start with the College Access Challenge Grant. For those of you, again, who are unfamiliar with the program, it is a federally funded formula grant. Basically means that all states have these funds available to them. It's not a competitive grant program. It's a 12-month grant program that we spend down over 24 months. Our current grant is $2.8 million, and we have 2 primary projects that we're implementing with these grant funds. The first being the creation of College Mentor Corps. The second being the expansion of professional development around collegeforteen.org, a college access web portal open and available to all Tennesseans. So I'm going to start with kind of giving you an overview of an annual performance report that we just submitted to the U.S. Department of Education. Part of our grant agreement with the feds is that we provide this report annually. That report was submitted May 15th of this year. We'll start with the College Mentor Corps. The basic concept of the Mentor Corps really came out of our Gear Up experience with the last grant. We saw that the effective piece of college access work across the state really hinged on one-on-one relationships with students, building that rapport with students and guiding them through the process, particularly our low-income, high-needs students. So we partnered with 6 nonprofit organizations across the state to create a mentor corps that would provide mentoring services to high school seniors each year of the grant in their transition to post-secondary ed, whatever that meant for them, any kind of, whether it be certificate programs, community college, 4-year institutions. Additionally, we worked with the community colleges to provide mentoring services in the students' transition both into the community college and then persistence all the way through. This last year, the reporting cycle, we served over 10,000 students, and you can see the list of organizations that we've partnered with across the state. I won't necessarily go through each of these bullet points just in the interest of time, but what I do want to kind of point out here, these are some of our results that we're seeing. We have retention rates amongst the students that we're serving that are exceeding 80% in some of our campuses. This one-on-one mentoring model we're really seeing being effective. Now that we have 2 full years of data, we are going to be working with the National Student Clearinghouse to really do a deep dive as to, is this not only effective in terms of retention, but are we seeing the increased college going rates that we would expect select with this type of retention or this type of service. And I think what's interesting about the model that we've leveraged here is that each of these 6 organizations leverage a different model. So we are able to really not just dig into does mentoring work, but what are the types of mentoring services that work? What are the things that we're seeing? What are the particular services that are being offered to these students that are having the highest level of impact? Is it things like college visits? Is it FAFSA completion assistance? We're going to be able to do that analysis and hopefully have some outcomes that will inform our practice, but the practice of college access professionals across the state. College Access Challenge Grant also funds the expansion of collegefortn.org. So collegefortn.org is a free web portal available to all Tennesseans. We have college going, college access, and success information built into the site. In the last year, we saw a 12% increase in activity on the site in terms of accounts created. We've spent the last 6 months revisioning what this looks like for THEC and how it fits into the fabric of college access in the state. We've hired 2 training and outreach specialists who go out and do regular trainings with the K-12 environment. We're reaching out to adult-serving nonprofit organizations to bring those resources out to really the range of people that we're talking about. When we talk about Drive to 55, we want to make sure that we're leveraging these resources to help the state reach its overall goals. In addition to the training, we've also created a position. This is a joint position between the PPR staff and ours, a person who's basically over building strategic partnerships, reaching out to the business community, to adult-serving organizations, to bring that into the umbrella and the fabric of what we do with College for TN. A couple of things just to note. We are partnering with TBR and their rebranding of the TCATs, making sure that that information is pulled into the site. We are going to be doing a tour of all 27 institutions, talking about how resources on College for TN can be leveraged into the curriculum at those institutions, resume building tools, job search type tools. So I think this is a really great partnership that Penny Shelton has been able to navigate for us. We're also partnering with the Tennessee STARS program. We have aligned interest with them. We speak the same language, so we're making sure that we're aligning our messaging, giving them some real estate on the web portal, while also partnering in outreach activities. For instance, August 3rd, we're partnering on back-to-school baseball games in Memphis and Nashville, promoting college access and awareness of these 2 initiatives. The next piece that I'd like to mention to you is the Tennessee College Access and Success Network. This very much is a project that, in my mind, does what we hope grant programs do. We receive some funding, whether it be private funds or federal funds, and we seed something that will be sustained after those funds go away. We, using Lumina funds, created this network, and we are expanding it through Race to the Top funds. The purpose of the network is to expand college access programming across the state, to build capacity around college access programming across the state. And in that vein, and this is something that we've seen in our Gear Up work, something that we see in the college access work that we do, is that there is a capacity issue in terms of school counselors, college access professionals understanding the mechanics of college access. You go to any pre-professional program for school counseling, and they're trained as mental health professionals. There is no college access element to many of those training programs, yet when they go into the high school setting, we kind of expect them to be the point person in all things to do with college access. It's those school counselors who need to understand what the FAFSA is and how the college application process works. So Lipscomb, the Ayers Institute Lipscomb and the network are partnering together to create a professional development, online professional development course that will cover the basics of college access. 2 of the strands for that course have already been created, one covering the admissions process, the other college affordability. Again, this will be online. We're going to be piloting these 2 strands with our Gear Up professionals across the state this fall. And we think this is a good opportunity for not only to build some capacity amongst our people that we're working with a grant, but I think there's a great service for not only the school counseling community, but the nonprofit community that will be able to leverage these resources going forward. The network also just awarded their 3rd round of college access expansion subgrants. The basic purpose of this, again, is to create new or expand existing college access programs. 12 were awarded that will serve over 27,000 students across the state. What was different about the model they leveraged this time around was that they took best practices from our programs, from their programs, and those were the models that needed to be used by the subgrants. So these are proven best practices that we're, again, expanding across the state. state. This is being funded, by the way, through Race to the Top funds funneled through the Tennessee Higher Education Commission. And finally, Gear Up. So last commission meeting, we reported out on our annual performance report. I will say that this will be a little bit of a lighter piece for us, but where I might not have a map, I have a lot of pictures. So this summer, we did have our first annual youth summit of this new Gear Up grant. And so the purpose of this event is to bring students onto a campus and expose them. And I think that we talk a lot, and I think we should, about the academic components of college access. But we find in the students that we're working with that their financial preparedness for college and their social preparedness for college are also very important in making sure those students transition successfully and succeed once they get there. So the purpose of this event was to expose many of our students to college for the very first time. Some of our students have never spent a night away from their hometowns before. And so this was a really transformative experience for many of our kids. We had leadership activities where they were put into situations where they had to think about being outside of their uncomfort zone. How are they going to build a network of support once they get into an area where they are uncomfortable? So we co-hosted this event, again, with the network. The event was to expose students to a college campus, foster a college-going culture, and also to build a network of peers across our Gear Up communities. During the summit, students participate in a variety of team-building activities. We have them go through a strategic process where we have them do I have statements as soon as they arrived, where they talked about what they brought with them to the event. They did I am statements to say this is what they're learning about themselves at the event, and then at the tail end of the event, they had I will statements based on the things that I brought with me that I learned while I was here. How am I going to put that into action in my life? And you'll notice the picture at the bottom, if you can't read it, it says, I will make the right grades to get in the college I want to attend. And I mean, we took pictures of all of them, so we have a lot of pictures that we'll use in future things. And I will say we had a lot of serious things that we did. We also, I think the number one way to make sure that a youth event is successful is you make sure the students are as tired as possible when they go to bed so you have no problems once curfew happens. So we did have a paint-a-palooza, and I'll let you fill in the blanks. It was basically 200 chaperones and rising 8th graders, a couple gallons of paint, and an open field for about an hour. We did extend an invitation to Dr. Rhoda, but he did have a conflict that night, which is okay. And I'll be proud to say, too, you'll notice the picture on the right, your THEC staff did actively participate in this event. We were in the dorms with students, and we were part of the Paint-a-Palooza as well. And here's just a couple of the leadership activities that our kids did. Looking forward in terms of Gear Up. A couple of things just I'd like to bring to your attention. First, evaluation. This is a very big component of not only our federal compliance, but then also our efforts for continual improvement as it pertains to this grant program. We've released a request for proposals for a third-party evaluator. That release is out there now, and we anticipate getting proposals August 5th. By the next commission meeting, I will be able to report to you who the selected evaluator is. A couple of other events coming forward. An annual kickoff. We do this in each of our communities, again, to build excitement around the college-going process, to orientate our students and their families to the Gear Up program. We're also partnering with the Tennessee Financial Literacy Commission. Financial literacy is a big component in terms of college access and success. Each of our Gear Up middle schools will have a team of 4 8th grade educators who are going to be trained on how to incorporate financial literacy into the curriculum. This is a key piece in terms of making sure our students have the knowledge they need in order to transition and succeed into higher education. Another piece, before I get to the Engage, I will say too, kind of leapfrogging from what Mike was talking about with sales. Over half of our Gear Up schools are also participating in sales. We made a concerted effort, and this is part of what we do in terms of Gear Up. In the schools that we're serving, we want to funnel these resources, be it sales or other things happening in the state, to make sure we're really affecting some kind of change in these communities. This last piece with Gear Up is the ACT Engage. I mentioned in terms of those social factors that really result in a successful college student, a completer. This is an assessment that ACT offers that really does touch on those non-cognitive, metacognitive type aspects, student self-regulation, their academic discipline, their perceptions of their family's interest in their education. We're providing this assessment to all of our Gear Up cohort students. This will give us the data on a state level, but also on a local level to make sure that we are marrying the right interventions to the right student. So when you take these social aspects, we talk a lot about the 360 view of a child. This gives us that social piece that we can overlay with the academic elements and really make sure that we're targeting the right interventions to the right kid. The interesting thing about this in terms of a research opportunity for us is that we're going to be doing this in a longitudinal fashion. We're offering to the 8th graders, the 10th graders, and the 12th graders. So we'll not only be able to track what interventions are making some kind of change on these factors, but we'll also be able to kind of see what we can learn and how that informs, again, college access work across the state. Finally, if you're interested at all in attending the Memphis Redbirds or the Nashville Sounds game, let us know, and we'll see what we can do. This is a back-to-school college night that we are co-sponsoring with College for TN and Tennessee Stars. And with that, I'll open up to any questions you might have.
Any questions from the body?
I just want to make a comment. I spoke to our Gear Up coordinator in Haywood County after attending that summit with the group that came from Haywood County, and she was moved to tears about the impact on those children that participated in that summit. And she just went on and about how positive that experience was. So, doing a great job.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Before I turn it over to Dr. Rhoda, I just want to say thank you to the professional staff. I've been on this body now for 6 years, and you do unbelievable work. That includes you, Ross, too. You really do. Your presentation always extremely professional. You give us great information, and I, as a new chairman as of an hour and a half, really do appreciate it, and that also includes Ms. Carter, who is unbelievably good in supporting us. I want to thank all of you.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chairman. The next meeting of the commission is November 14th here, same format unless otherwise notified. We will have, as we noted, and I also should say how much I appreciated Robert White as chair of the group, as a member of the commission, first and foremost. But his seat is hopefully there will be an appointment soon. At such time as we have that person, and with Pam Coben, we'll have a more formal orientation session, and we will invite all commissioners to that. So it'll be more of a relaxed presentation like these of just of the work of the commission. We'd certainly invite your input on that, but we'll keep you posted on that.
If there's nothing else, we will move for adjournment, and my goal was to get you out of here before 3 o'clock.
Good job.
Great work. Hey, hey.
Good job.
Here, here. Work.
Congratulations.
Thank you, dear. I appreciate it.